Now, about tonight's program. Israel and Texas are partners in projects such as border security, water use and conservation, solar energy, military defense, and more. As many of you know, the important Texas anti-BDS bill was passed a few years ago. An important fact is that although the United States sends foreign aid money to Israel, the vast majority of it is spent right back here in the United States, and certainly in Texas. This means our citizens benefit from jobs, travel, technology, and all the other things involved as these projects take place on US soil. Military bases and factories throughout the United States benefit from this. We are lucky tonight to have Elbit America right here in the North Texas area. Our speakers from Elbit are Joel Friederich and Scott Baum. Joel Friederich is Vice President, C41 and Homeland Security Solutions, with more than 30 years of experience in the aerospace, defense, and homeland security industries. Scott Baum is Vice President of Strategy and Growth and has extensive experience in the defense industry. Everyone, be sure to put your questions in the chat box. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedules to join us tonight. Joel, take it away.
All right, thank you, Susie, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. It's a pleasure to be with you, and looking forward to some interactive discussion as we go through our presentation tonight. With me here. All right. Everybody can see the video or the presentation okay? Great. Okay, again, my name is Joel Friederich. I lead up the C4I and Homeland Security business here at Elbit America, and Scott Baum will be joining me tonight for some discussion on our company and some of the activities that we are performing. On the agenda tonight, I'm going to give you an overview of Elbit. Then we'll dive into a little bit on Homeland Security, which is part of my business portfolio, and then we'll continue further with our journey in the command, control, communications, and computer intelligence. That's what C4I stands for. In our business as well. And then Scott's going to talk a little bit about our helmet display technologies and the applications that we have on the F-35 aircraft and several other aircraft that most of you probably are familiar with. As far as Elbit Systems as a whole, global presence across North America, Latin America, Europe, Israel, and of course the Asia Pacific Rim. We are publicly traded on the US NASDAQ and also on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Our annual revenues as of this year are approximately $4.7 billion in our global organization. We have over 18,000 employees across these 15 countries, and we invest about 10% of annual revenues in our technologies. As Susie mentioned, part of our business that we have also is supported by Israel through FMF funded programs, which we manufacture product here, right here in Fort Worth, and ship those products back to the Israeli government. Additionally, we have government programs that we have with the US government and the Israeli government to develop technologies to be used globally. And last but not least, various technologies come from Israel that we adapt here in the United States for US programs. We transfer that knowledge to US folks and then move that product and those solutions throughout the United States of America. And we'll be talking about a few of those as we go. Specifically related to Elbit America here, our goal and vision here is protecting and saving lives. Everything that we do touches a soldier, a border patrol agent, or others which are out protecting our borders and our country. We're headquartered right here in Fort Worth, a registered company in Delaware. As mentioned, Elbit Systems Limited is our parent company, which is publicly traded. We happen to have a unique situation where we have a special security agreement. What a special security agreement is it enables us as Elbit America to handle and manage classified programs, products, technologies even though that we have an affiliation with a foreign entity. So this is very similar to BAEs and folks like that, a similar situation. We've had an outstanding rating with defense counterintelligence and security agencies. We have a physical separate network structure and apply with all of the export and compliance regulations that we need to handle technologies. We just recently acquired a company called Spartan down in South Florida. That's enabled us to have a higher security clearance here in the United States, which is top secret and SCI. In order to do that, we have what's called a proxy board, which is a separate board of directors that manages and handles all of the security requirements related to that company and directly related to the leadership staff here at Elbit America. Similarly, we have this special security agreement, as I mentioned earlier, that also has a separate board of directors to handle security aspects and make sure that we're managing and adhering to all the policies and process that we need to do that we've signed up with the government. With Elbit America, 25% of our workforce is U.S. veterans. I happen to be a special operations veteran from U.S. Air Force. We have many, many other folks that have retired or veterans of the services. We have 3,300 employees. Of that, we have roughly 700 engineers. Our annual revenue is right at $1.3 billion, and again, an investment very heavily for research and development of about $30 million that we invest across the corporation.
So
we're very heavily involved.
I'm sorry, we've got a question about that.
Sure.
Is Fort Worth the largest U.S. presence of Elbit? And what is the second largest U.S. presence?
Yeah, great question. So our two main manufacturing facilities are Fort Worth, and the second one is up in Merrimack, New Hampshire. Fort Worth handles most of the airborne products. It's the Center of Excellence for Homeland Security. C4I, the FMF business, Service and Support Solutions is also housed here, and several others. Our Merrimack facility is the next largest manufacturing facility, and they primarily work with ground combat precision and targeting systems and optical payloads. Regarding community partnership and corporate citizenship, we do a lot of that. We're very heavily involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, also Good Deeds Day. My group sponsors specifically the Border Patrol Foundation, of course, veterans programs, and we also have another project for inroads for internship and job training here, which we use quite a bit. Here gives another little snapshot of our footprint. As I mentioned, headquartered here in Fort Worth. Renan Horowitz is Scott and I's boss, is the CEO here in Fort Worth. And this is where we have, as I mentioned, the advanced avionics for airborne solutions, electronic warfare solutions, C4I and tactical communications, and border security, which is my group. We do some work at precision guided seekers. So that's the JDAM missile. Some of you may have seen that. We take a dumb bomb, basically, and turn it into a smart bomb with laser and optical payloads. Combat ground system authorization, which is another project that we do. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And as I mentioned, the other large one is the foreign military funded solutions. We have a separate facility on Quorum Drive where we manufacture products specifically for the Israeli Defense Force. As you can see here, I won't go all through all of those, but we also have other highlighted areas in Alabama, Arizona, our Washington, D.C. operations, Florida facilities, and also up on the East Coast for New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, South Carolina. One of the newest things that we have acquired, again, is night vision goggles. That's up in the Virginia area that we just acquired. That organization is another one in addition to Spartan. So this particular one gives us kind of an overview. So some of you probably are familiar with some of these aircraft. Starting on the left, you can see that we first started our journey back in 1993 with the F-16 aircraft, working on avionics packages and solutions. We further then grew that company into the JHMX first goggle system, moving that forward into the modernization of the ground combat Bradley fighting vehicle, which we actually still manufacture parts of that here in Fort Worth. The precision guided munitions, the JDAM, as I mentioned earlier, that was probably our largest one. We sell hundreds of thousands of those and still do. We started that project in 2000. And then you'll see we migrate our way into Apache and also the F-35. F-35 helmet, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, but that's just one of many heads-up display and helmet technologies we have within Elbit as a corporation, and that's a joint venture with Rockwell Collins, or Collins now, that we have in that particular program. Kind of in the middle there, you talk about border security systems, so that's another part of my portfolio. We'll get into more detail there about that, but we are securing the United States border and lots of opportunities that we're looking at as the initiatives for protecting our borders continues forward. Last, I'll talk about, again, a little bit near and dear to me, is the modernization of Army command posts. That, in fact, is a project where, again, we used Israeli technology, modified it specifically for U.S. applications, and, of course, transferred technology to the United States to win those particular programs, and I'll give you some more detail on that in a few charts. Okay, on the Homeland Security Solutions, we're going to share a little video with you. I have my volume turned up, so hopefully the audio will come through, but bear with me here while we get that started. Okay, well, we don't have any audio for some reason. Well, I'm sorry about that. That's got some good audio there I wanted to share, which was working before. Of course, all things happen, right?
Absolutely, that's true.
So what this video is showing is quite a bit of the capabilities that we have. Again, I'll talk through some of those that we have deployed and also continue to deploy, not only for border security, but also for perimeter protection and other activities that we have within the Department of Defense. Susie and team, if you would like, I can try to troubleshoot my computer here for just a second and see what's happening.
Sure, that's fine. Thank you.
It would be nice if that would work.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
If you'll be sure and look at chat, everyone, we are dropping links for your convenience into chat so that you'll have those after the program. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I do have one question that's come up that might you might be able to answer now. Do the tower systems you provide transmit video to a Homeland Security Center for evaluation or to border security in the field?
Yes, to answer the question is that the video and information that goes to and from our infrastructure goes back to a command and control center. And then from there, folks from CBP dispatch appropriate agents and resources. Well, I am sorry, I am not able to get that to cooperate. I don't know what's going on there.
We have another question. How is the radar used?
The radar is used for detection of items of interest. So as the radar goes and scans across a 360-degree field of view, we then put that information and detection on a map, and then the operators are able to take that and investigate the item of interest.
Next question that we've had also deals with this. Is it safe to say that every military jet now produced in the United States has Elbit fly-by-wire systems?
So we don't, bear with me here, I'm going to have to...
Yeah, while Jill's helping fix the technology portion of the presentation, I'll field that question. So the answer is no, not every military jet in the United States uses Elbit America systems or products. I'm going to talk later in the video or the presentation about the number of modern military aircraft that do use our either displays or helmet mounted displays. As a global leader, we take great pride in working with the U.S. partners and allies, making sure they have the equipment. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation.
Well, I'm sorry, gang, for the video there that I'm not going to have any audio there, so I can't seem to get that squared away. Okay, let's just start my video. There we go. Okay, so we'll continue. Again, protecting America's borders right here in Fort Worth is our center of excellence. Make sure I'm sharing here.
Thank you so much, Joel. I know you're trying to do 4 things at one time.
No, it's okay. You know, Murphy enters the building. Every time you do these presentations, it's like we had it all squared away. I'm a little disappointed the audio is not working, so I apologize.
Okay.
So again, protecting America's borders here in Fort Worth is our center of excellence. We've had quite a few staff members from Congress, Kay Granger and others, join us to see exactly what we do. We have multiple system integration labs across the United States. And what this chart here is showing you is just a little bit of a sprinkling of the technologies and the solutions that we have across the United States.
Joel, your PowerPoint is not showing. You need to share your screen and go back to your PowerPoint.
Okay.
There you go.
Am I sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this particular chart, so what you'll see over here on the left-hand side is one of our remote relocatable towers. This is a relatively new product that we have, fully autonomous capability, so you do not need an agent necessarily searching and scanning for items of interest. It will use machine learning and artificial intelligence in order to do that. The fixed towers that you see back here, those are the products that we have all across the United States border. We did, again, leverage technology from Israel, brought that over to the United States, modified the software and the source code, and then deployed that for the United States Border Patrol. We also have capabilities for counter-UAS technologies, again, long-range and short-range capabilities for cameras and radars. Our mobile truck here, you'll see that. We've deployed those with, again, radar and camera technologies. And then, again, all of this information goes back to a command and control center. I'll talk a little bit more in detail here in a couple more charts. Specifically related to our first project, this is when we first entered into Border Patrol. So around 2014 was the original proposal. We were awarded and went to work in 2015. We've just recently completed the last area of responsibility on the Arizona border. We've covered 7,000 miles of surveillance area with these cameras, radars, and systems, enabling, again, agents at a command and control center to monitor the border activity and all of the area within the border. All of the systems that you see here are solar powered, so they're green energy, green capabilities that we have in order to keep the systems up and running. This particular video is going to just show you some of the capabilities. So this is one of our towers out in the middle of the desert, and we're going to zoom in here in just a minute or two, and you will see how powerful those particular cameras are. So we're going to be looking for a couple cows. I can't show you the real McCoys that are out there or the items of interest, but this was a test that we ran just to share with you the power of that capability. So you'll see in the center of the screen, you start to see some cows showing up. Again, those are cows, those are Mexican cows, so those will soon be fajitas. And those are, again, just to show you the power of the optical capabilities. So if you can envision that we would pick up a detection of movement on a radar, that's presented on a map for the operators to go investigate, and we would use this camera technology. This happens to be a day camera in order to look and see if that's an item of interest. And I'll show you some other pictures here in a little bit of that actual real capability.
We have another question concerning that that's come in. How many towers are used over the 7,000 miles of border?
Great question. So we have deployed a total of 55 towers that cover that particular region. So a couple other projects that we have, as I mentioned, we've completed the integrated fixed tower program, and we are now waiting on the next wave of opportunities through CBP. That particular program is called the Common Tower Sensor Equipment Project. That will be deploying additional technology along the rest of the border. So a couple places are still in the boot hills of Texas, and some areas there's still some gaps in the coverage that we have. You may have saw that in the video. I apologize again for that. But definitely we're looking forward to this as the next wave. This particular program will also include, as we talked about, autonomous relocatable towers. So one of the challenges that happens for the state of Texas and others is the United States government doesn't necessarily own the land, and therefore they cannot put permanent infrastructure like we did in Arizona in the ground. So the use of relocatable towers is a solution that we have derived. Same capabilities you saw before. This particular tower is obviously in a stowed position. Solar panels fold up and everything, so you can move this around wherever the threat is, or if the landowner decides they don't want you on their land any longer, then you can move these particular towers out of the way. These towers range in height from 80 to 110 feet, which is very similar to the fixed towers that we deployed in Arizona. I mentioned to you about our module mobile surveillance system. So again, this is similar payload and capability with radar and day and night vision capability, a 30-foot mast that the operator in the truck can stop, deploy, and then survey a particular area that may be a blind spot where other assets are not there. Again, all this data goes back to a common operating picture. This is an example of our M2S2 actually in action, and what you see here, the little white folks here, are the 14 group of items of interest, as we call them, and you'll see a small square item, rectangular item on their back. Those are the drug bundles that they're carrying across the New Mexico border, into the United States, and roughly they weigh between 100 and 150 pounds per person. Some of the other capabilities that we have are some counter-tunnel threat detection. So a lot of activities going on in the southern states. You've seen some of that on the news. So we do have technology there that detects tunnel activities or potential tunnel activities. One of the other activities we're working on is the linear ground detection. So it's a fiber optic cable that basically runs through what we call the enforcement zone. The enforcement zone is the two layers of impedance, whether it be physical barrier, both the fencing, there's a secondary fence or infrastructure there, and we're monitoring this 150-foot section. We're monitoring it with linear ground detection systems, which is fiber optics that can sense and detect people walking, scraping, shoveling, driving, and then we automatically slew a camera to the location of wherever that impact is or detection is along the enforcement zone. And then the operators get an alert to tell them to take a look at that video at the command and control center, and then of course they can take action. So it enables the operators to, again, have this level of impedance and enforcement zone versus folks just hopping over a fence or crossing the border immediately. This is a bit of a buffer zone for folks to, be apprehended in. The next thing we'll show at the very bottom is an unattended ground sensor. Unattended ground sensors are basically units that we get a GPS location. They can also take a snapshot of a picture of an individual walking by, but again, they sense detection of things like walking, driving, crawling, or digging. And so these are planted all across the southern border. That information as these underground sensors are pinged, if you will. They will be presented on the command and control software as well, so that the agents can start to plan where the next steps will be for that item of interest to cross into various regions. So they're very familiar with the geography and the ground and the locations, so they know what passes or valleys individuals can in fact cross, and they will start to plan their mission to apprehend those individuals.
Oh, we have one question specific to that.
Yes.
How do you detect tunnel activity?
So we can't get into details because of the sensitivity of the technology. As I mentioned, Command and Control Center is a product we call Torch. Again, this is where all of the information provides agents with complete situational awareness. So in an area of responsibility, like let's use Nogales. Nogales is roughly 300-400 square miles of border area or area of responsibility. 3 agents will be looking at that entire area of responsibility and dispatching individuals to apprehend items of interest. So they stay very busy 24/7. We have National Guard folks that are actually manning the system as well, just from a staffing perspective, because CBP does have challenges with staffing, not able to get enough folks on the systems or within the Border Patrol. So some challenges that they have there. The next thing we'll talk about is Field Agent Kit. So what that does is called TAC. It's a Team Awareness Kit, and that provides the data that's going to the Command and Control Center. Some of that information can be shared directly with the agents. So as an example, an agent's out in the field looking to find a particular individual, they can tell them and send them a picture of what that individual might look like, maybe the color of the clothing, and also the location of where they are, versus just talking about that over a radio. And as I mentioned last year, System Integration Labs, so we have significant investment that we have made for System Integration Labs to test new technologies, verify that and operate the systems that we have in the field. We did provide complete contract logistics support of all the systems all across the Arizona border, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we were doing that out of the Fort Worth facility here, but also in our other facility in Marana, Arizona. Next, I'm going to go into some areas of technology, again, that we have leveraged from Israel, which are software-defined radios. So these are specific radios that are used for the United States government, the Israeli government, and then as you can see here, we've moved that technology across to other countries as well across the globe. We are working here to try to bring some of this technology to the United States. A lot of competition here with folks like L3, Harris, Raytheon, and others, General Dynamics. So a big market, but a place that we continue to explore for opportunities. Specifically in our business unit, these are organic capabilities. However, some technology has come from Israel, and a couple of these for high power amplifiers. So these are what connect to radios that are on the various aircraft that you see there to the left, and then we basically boost the signal. Our main project that we have is on the F-35. We've been providing product and manufacturing that product since early 2000. And full motion video link is a project that we're working on, which is at the very top. That's a new program that we have under contract, and we will be cutting that technology into the F-35 in another couple years. And then the other ones are SATCOM amplifiers for satellite communication. We have radios and power amplifiers that cover all of the frequency bands of UHF, VHF, and SATCOM. We are also continuing to expand our capabilities in the next generation Army communications. So what you see here is a CMOS radio. That's a common operating system that they're looking at as well. And what we're doing here is basically taking the radio, which usually contains a lot of heat and space inside of the vehicle, close to the radio head where you turn the frequencies and do all the dialing. We're actually moving all of that out to the very back or outside of the vehicle in order to eliminate wasted space in the cab, but also to distribute a significant amount of heat and capability that's usually inside the vehicles. Now we're putting that to the outside. Well, one of the other projects that I mentioned that's, again, a transfer of technology. This is a new program for us that we were awarded last year and continue to move forward. It's for Army Command Post modernization. What we're doing is we're putting together 14 different variations of these vehicles, a 1087, 1083, and a Humvee, and we're building this mobile command system that you see. So what it allows them to do is obviously set up operation, very similar to what we talked about. There's a command and control center in here to take care of situation awareness. That's also one of our products that we brought from Israel and moving to see if we can sell that particular technology here in the United States. And we've modified these vehicles so that these shelters are expando shelters where they can basically move, set up, and if there's a threat that comes by, then they can close back up shop, continue to run with the air conditioners and the generators on vehicle power, and then go to the next locations to ensure that they have safety and security. Currently, what the U.S. Army is doing, what they're getting away from, is they used to actually set up these giant tents and have these mobile command posts in these tents. Well, obviously, there's a lot of things going on there that enemies can quickly see from either heat signatures, radio frequencies, and others, and they were not able to move. And unfortunately, we lost several troops because they were being attacked in the fact that they're an easy target. Our goal here, obviously, and the Army's goal here is to now move that into a mobile situation to where when they start to get identified as in a hostile environment, they can quickly pack up and move.
Joel, a question has come up. Are any of the vehicles that you're mentioning manufactured in the United States, or Texas?
Yeah, most of these are Oshkosh vehicles, these big guys here, and then Humvees obviously are standard. So they're all U.S. vehicles.
Thank you.
One other project that we're working on is combined joint all-domain command and control. That basically, again, similar to CBP, but obviously on a military application, where you're getting advanced battle management details, data going across aircraft, fixed wing, rotary wing, satellites, any sensor that the government has, and putting that together in a command and control software package for battle management, situational awareness, and action. So really big project, still early in the stages here, but again, what we are leveraging here is a product called Torch, which has been used and deployed in Israel. We are transferring that technology to the United States and pursuing these programs here with our team with U.S. Air Force.
Systems deployed by the state of Texas?
I'm sorry?
Are your systems, the border systems, deployed by the state of Texas? Are they used on the Texas border?
We do not have anything in the state of Texas yet, other than some of the mobile vehicles. The M2S2s are in fact here, but the command and control center software that I discussed and the things I was showing earlier are all across Arizona. So the plan is that additional technologies are needed. Governor Abbott, as some of you may have seen, is very engaged in trying to secure the border. And so we're working very hard to bring that technology here to the state of Texas to secure that situation on the southern border.
Thank you.
This is another project where, again, we're using and leveraging a lot of the technologies for the relocatable towers in an expeditionary base defense system. So what we're looking at here is a means to basically look at an island or a specific area where we would slowly encroach, deploy technology with artificial intelligence and machine learning and autonomous vehicles, secure a specific area, and then continue to bring troops in and expand, right? So it's kind of a growing circle, if you will, across the board. And then, as I mentioned earlier, all of that data, as it's being collected, goes back to this main command and control center, allowing for sensor integration, looking at where, obviously, threats are, and if need be, loitering munitions that would then take out any threats that would be opposed to the incoming military force. Okay, so I had a really good video here as well. I'm going to give it a go. I don't know that my sound will work. It does not. Susan, I'll try to get these videos so that folks can get to them, but this basically talks a little bit about the F-35 helmet, its capabilities that we have. Scott's going to go into more detail here in just a few minutes about it. Again, I apologize. I don't know why my videos decided not to work on the day we do the briefing, but as life will have it, it is what it is. What it's talking about here is that the helmet, this is specifically on the F-35, again, all of the information that's provided in the cockpit that the pilot needs to pilot the aircraft, know where he or she is, and also the enemy targets come up into play, and also friendly objects come into play. The interesting thing about the F-35 aircraft is that, and the helmet capability is we have two camera systems. So you see here he's demonstrating, they're actually looking through the cockpit, if you will. So as they fly over and they look down at their feet, it's like, for those of you that knew Wonder Woman back in the day in the glass jet, very similar, right? They can look through that. And so we provided Elbit America the H-cam and the F-cam, which is on the aircraft, to enable it to do that. And I won't steal Scott's thunder because that's part of the some of the pitches. Here you see there's a friendly object, right? So this is all in and those are some bad guys over there on the right. So it's detecting not only that they're bad guys, but what type of aircraft, all coming through the helmet, so the pilot knows what type of munition they need to use in order to deal with that threat. And from here,
All right.
I'll turn it over to Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Awesome. Hey, Joel, I appreciate it. It looks like my audio is coming through. So as introduced, my name is Scott Baum, Vice President for Strategy and Growth here at Elbit America. And I'm going to just take a few minutes to walk through another product line that we manufacture here in the United States. And for this specific product here in Fort Worth, Texas. As Joel mentioned in the beginning, we have a very wide product portfolio that we support our defense customers with. This evening, we picked out a few different examples of products that we sell to Homeland Security and helmets to the Department of Defense. But if you look on our website, we've got quite a bit more products that we can talk about and capabilities we bring to the warfighter. Tonight, so we're talking about F-35. Many people, especially here in the Southwest, know the F-35 as the most advanced fighter in the skies today, and it is. And we are very proud to be part of that, and one of the most advanced parts of that, which is the helmet. As you saw in the video and Joel talked through, today the pilot in the cockpit of an F-35 has the ability to connect with the platform and execute a series of advanced functions through their helmet, whether that's friend or foe identification, target identification, over the horizon, control of the weapons systems on the platform, navigation, communications, all can occur and does occur on a daily basis through the actual helmet itself. This is a technology that was developed fundamentally in Israel, as we do with many technologies. We brought it to the United States. We pulled out a series of software coding and some hardware pieces to make sure that it fit the needs and the requirements of the U.S. Department of Defense. And today we are one of, if not the largest provider of advanced technology, advanced pilotage technology in the defense market. So on here, you see a list of things that we provide. Again, the helmet looks like a single item. It's actually a multitude of systems that are linked together and then linked to the aircraft itself. If we could go to the next slide. The other thing that we provide for the F-35, and Joel mentioned it earlier, is critical, is the ability to increase the power of the communication system on the F-35. Joel and his organization have designed, developed, tested, and are now will be going into manufacturing, or have manufactured and will continue to manufacture the power amplifier for the F-35. And this enables both the pilot and the system to communicate not just US to US, not just air to ground, but to partners and allies across the formation. When you talk to our defense clients, they talk about trusted wingmen, right? Those pilots that are on their wings flying in formation. Today across the world, flying with the United States Air Force, are our closest partners and allies across Europe, Asia, and of course Israel. Israel is one of the largest buyers of the F-35 and fly today wingman to wingman with the United States Air Force. Go to the next slide. Another product.
Scott, about
Yeah,
the helmet.
go ahead.
You
Okay,
all make
go ahead.
all of the entire helmet or just parts of it?
Yeah, so here in the United States, so actually parts of it. So some parts are made in Israel, other parts are made here in the US. And so every year we evaluate what is what's the best mix of the products that go into that and where they're manufactured. So it's actually a hybrid. They're made in both places.
So how critical
another
is the next
Yeah, I'm sorry,
follow-up
go ahead.
question was, how critical is the weight of the helmet to the pilot?
Oh, that is one of the central points. To be able to put all of that technology inside a helmet or on a helmet in the beginning has increased the weight. Every day, and actually our next generation of capability or products we're bringing are reducing the weight substantially. When you are flying a fighter aircraft and you are pulling the Gs that the standard pilots pull, weight is a significant event. And so we every day are looking at ways to reduce that. And so our next product, our next generation of helmets is substantially lighter than what today's helmets are. And we iterate every day.
Scott, if I could add, so we did a lot of analysis and testing of to that point of the weight of the helmet, and from an ejection perspective all the way through, as Scott mentioned, flight. And the other thing, fun fact, is that each helmet is actually customized for the pilot, so it's fitted specifically for that individual. So a really critical element of the overall aircraft and its mission, if you can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm. So quickly, Joel mentioned before the full motion data link. So that's a product that we develop and manufacture in Fort Worth, Texas, right? And so this is a continual modernization. I think a lot of people hear and talk about the F-35 and think that it's just a single aircraft that was locked in from a technology perspective and then just kind of began to hit the manufacturing floor. I'd like for the audience to understand that when we talk about military aviation, it is a continuous innovation and improvement. So every year we slice into the aircraft or put on the aircraft new technology. And so this is one of those areas where we're improving the capability of the F-35 with the full motion video data link. And this is critical as we look into the future to enable our airmen to connect not only just to airmen with video, but to the ground, to command posts and partners and allies across the formation. So let's go to the next slide. So when you talk in the industry, the defense industry, and you just use the word helmet, that actually underrepresents what we're doing. And when you, in the industry, we talk about intelligent interfaces and intelligence interface solutions. And this continues to evolve as society gets used to, right, AI, as you get to self-driving automobiles, how we interact with the systems and the vehicles that we pilot or drive changes, and we are part of that. And so today, each one of these areas that you see, we are spending R&D dollars here in the US, we are spending R&D dollars in Israel, we are partnering to develop that capability and bring it into the US forces as fast as possible. And so everything from augmented reality to next generation night vision to advanced avionics to how do the crews communicate with each other, we work on a daily basis, and then enable that with decision aids. And when you, in the defense industry, talk about aviation, you talk about overloading the pilot, right? Either sensory overload. And so we look every day at what do we do to improve the ability of the pilot to ensure that they can accomplish their mission. Next slide. This is I enjoy this slide because it demonstrates to the community all of the different aircraft or platforms that we touch with our technologies. And for the U.S. Air Force, for the Israeli Air Force, and for partner nations' air forces around the globe. And as you see, we are on all of the most advanced fighter aircraft that the Western world flies. I say that, let me restate that. The democratic free world flies, our partners and allies. And we take great pride in that. Our team works very hard to maintain that. And for everybody on the phone, this is a strategic example of the partnership between Israel and the U.S. and how the technology innovation in both countries support and are critical to both nations as we continue to be partners and allies together. Next slide. I don't know. I think there's some questions I can't see on my screen, but they're,
Yes.
Lynn, I'm not sure if there are questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. One of them, they're asking about the MiG-29 being a partner, is one of the questions.
Yeah, so we have to understand that across the world, the U.S. partners with many different militaries that over the years have acquired different types of products or different platforms. And so for many of us, at least for me that have gray hair, the idea that MiG-29s could be flown by partners and allies is a little odd. But in the world we live in today, our partners and allies fly a mix of some of the most advanced aircraft. And so MiG-29s are in some of our allied fleets. Thank
you. The follow-up to that is, can you talk a bit more about pilot health monitoring? More specific examples, please.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Actually, we are looking at that with some of the most advanced R&D centers in the world. You are able to monitor the health of a pilot. You're able to monitor sensory overload of a pilot or a human being through a series of sensing that goes on around the helmet, the eyes, the heartbeats, temperature. And so we are looking at ways to monitor the health of the pilot during the entire full mission cycle. And again, that's to improve their ability to execute the mission and ensure that they fly safely and can return home. So we work with some of the leading universities in the world looking at how do we better monitor pilot health using our technology that obviously is part of the pilot in their helmet. Here on yep, I'm sorry, go ahead. I guess there was one more.
Is any of this used in a commercial, non-government way? Do you have any partners that are non-commercial, non-governmental? Yeah,
so here at Elbit America, for the helmet-mounted display or helmet display systems, all of our customers are with the U.S. government. Actually, in Israel, we do have a partnership with, and I'm going to look to Joel. I think it's Joel. Is it Airbus that we have? We actually do some helmet display avionics with.
Yeah, so we have part of our, and I'm sorry I didn't cover that, but we in the earlier charts, we also have a company for commercial avionics. So we do provide a heads-up display, which is very similar technology that goes into the helmet, but we do use that for what's called enhanced vision systems. And so what that does on a G5 aircraft or a FedEx aircraft, in order to do, they can see through fog, rain, snow, and perform what's called a Category 3 landing. Category 3 landing is where you cannot see the runway within, I don't remember how many thousands of feet, but basically you cannot land the aircraft if you did not have a visual aid. Right. So we do leverage that technology, and some of that technology was used into the development of what you see here.
And so this slide actually describes exactly what Joel just said. As we think about the pilot and enabling the pilot, it's about heads-up display, helmet-mounted displays, and improving their ability to see in low light or no light situations through our night vision. Joel talked about it very early in the presentation. Another product or capability we bring to the U.S. military is our advanced night vision systems. And we're one of the two leading suppliers for the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps of night vision capability. And a lot of that we bring into the helmets and the display systems for our pilots. Next slide. And so this just kind of gives you a very quick diagram of other parts or different items that we enable the capability F-35 brings to the battlefield. And so whether it be the amplifiers, the helmet-mounted display, tracking units across the airframe, the F-35, and we have similar diagrams for F-16s and F-15, Apache helicopters. Elbit America provides unique and capable technology for our U.S. customers, and we take great pride in that. A lot of that is produced here in Fort Worth, Texas, also in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and as we talked about, night vision in Roanoke, Virginia. So what started as a very small company, we can go to the next slide. what started as a very small company 30 years ago here in Fort Worth, Texas, with a very small handful of people and we purchased a facility from a company called General Dynamics, has grown today to what you see before you is over a $1.5 billion company with 3,300 employees across the United States. We have grown because of the support of our customers in Customs and Border Patrol and the Department of Defense and commercial aviation. But we've also grown because of our partnership with Israel and the critical relationship we have with our parent company, but also the Israeli innovation space that brings these technologies. We work hard to bring that technology here. We are committed to do it safely. We ensure that we bring the technology, review the software code, the supply chain, and deliver the product to the U.S. customer that meet and exceeds their requirements. And with that, I'm cognizant of our time, and I think both Joel and I are open for any questions that the audience has.
And Susan and team, I think I did fix the video and the audio problem on my end, so I can give it a shot again if you would like.
Please go ahead, Joel, that'll be great.
Yeah, I wasn't going to give up on that because that makes me angry. Hang on just a second. All right, hold on. What happened there? I can jump to the other video. We're waiting for maybe some questions there.
Yeah, there is one question that's come up about your surveillance products. Are they used commercially or just for government agencies?
Yeah, great question. Currently, we are focused on the Homeland Security front. We are pivoting the technology to the U.S. Department of Defense and some programs that are coming. We've not really pursued the commercial market. We've looked at infrastructure, critical infrastructure, nuclear power plants, water plants, et cetera. It's just a very tough market to get into because each of those organizations are independently funded through state or local governments, and we've just not really put the calories into that.
And
I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying I'll run this F-35 video. It's got some good information in as well.
Yeah, we have a question after that.
All right.
The U.S. Navy's fifth-generation strike fighter is the F-35C.
Red Ground, 97.3 airborne, Roger.
The pilot's helmet displays all pertinent information, no matter where the pilot is looking. The aircraft's distributed aperture system uses 6 electro-optical sensors, giving the pilot an unprecedented 360 degrees of situational awareness.
Level 250, marking bomb.
The pilot can actually look through the aircraft itself. All the key information the pilot needs is projected onto the helmet's visor, allowing for instant coordinated response.
99 traffic, 15 seconds, 26.
The missile warning system sees subtle heat differences across the landscape. The new strike fighter shares data seamlessly with other F-35s, but also with Allied aircraft and commanders on water or land.
205 Roger.
Computer technology is so sophisticated, it can identify types of planes and nationality, and recommend to the pilot suggested weapons to deploy.
Okay, I'll be able to sleep tonight.
Is any of the technology being used in Israel along the Gaza border?
I'm sorry, for which technology?
The question is any of your technology being used in Israel along the Gaza border? I assume it's for the border detection? Like the
Yeah,
Homeland
as I mentioned, some of the things in part of the joint partnership with CBP has been them going to see and witness how Israel needs to protect its borders, and so there is technology there all along the Israeli borders that we have definitely leveraged and modified for use here in the United States.
Thank you. Well, I think that ends our program tonight. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Please go to our website, SWJC.org, for past educational programs and to see a link of this one in a few days. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.